These cliff sides just keep getting worse and worse. If there's another one steeper than this, I don't know if I can make it out of here. There was like a 100% cliff, and
Hey, what's
I
up,
just dropped
guys?
my
And
backpack.
quick apology for the really rough sound recording. I'm still in Nepal, so ironically, I didn't bring my microphone with me because I was like, oh, you don't need it. Like, just wait till you get back. Like, it's not gonna be like that long. Like, whatever. This, that, the other thing. I didn't expect to be put in a survival situation. So, anyway, here's a quick edit of the 100-kilometer ruck run and summit of Parapakani. Hey, what's up, guys? My name's Anthony, and for those of you who don't know, I'm doing a planetary triathlon. There's a few videos on my channel already about it. I plan to do a very, very large inclusion video down the road. However, for right now, what's on the channel is more than enough. Um, Basically, I'm doing some high altitude, cold weather, unknown distance training in Nepal so I can get my body better comfortable with handling extreme stress, differential altitudes, massive temperature changes, and to be completely honest, training in Nepal is probably one of the one times in my life where I'll never be able to go back here and say that. I'm in the best shape of my life, and to be quite blunt or completely honest, I don't think I'd be able to do this in the future. So right now, this is probably the best option for me. But anyway, because I'm a solo mountaineer and I do solo mountain training, solo trekking, and stuff like that, um, I decided to go to Garzang, which is north central Nepal. Um, there's a series of extremely vast mountain ranges, all with various levels of temperaments. Some mountains at 12,000 feet have snow. Some mountains at 12,000 feet have these weird rock formations, which makes it extremely difficult to traverse and pass through. Some have waterfalls and extremely high rock falls, cliffs. So it makes for a very, very short drive. It makes for a very, very simple training cycle, and it makes for a very memorable experience that doesn't have to be so focused on, Mount Everest or Pamori or whatever it may be. So, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit sick. So for Everest training, I decided to go to as Parapakani. It's about 25 kilometers south of Panchpokari, which is Lake Pokari, and Parapakari means mountain Pokari. And then a mountain, you have a set of mountain ranges of the Himalayas just north of Panchpokari, but I didn't have enough gear to actually support myself through that. I wasn't actually planning to do any high climbs. I was planning to just go to Everest Base Camp, hang out for a few days, and then go down. But because of the situation that happened, how I got stuck off of a mountainside and I had to either drop half of my gear and go up the mountain or risk death scaling a 80 60 50 meter cliff. I decided to grab the proper gear that I needed. I got a new tent, new sleeping system, this, that, the other thing, and I decided to basically repack out for a partial summit of Kumori. Um, Under no circumstances would I recommend going here and doing this unless you have proper training in mountaineering. And if even if you do have proper training in mountaineering, I really don't recommend it. I know the price is expensive and it's out of the way. Trust me, you need a guide. I've been training in this for years, and even then, I'm still not summiting it. So, like I said, if you want to go visit the areas, you can go get 2, 3, or 4 mountain passes. Extremely cheap, extremely affordable. You can go hang out at the base camps, meet people, say hello. However, I very, very highly recommend against scaling the mountains unless you're an actual pronounced solo mountaineer. Um, so I'm going to be doing base camp 1, base camp 2, and maybe base camp 3 depending on the conditions. And when I'm about 60 kilometers away from the mountains, I have to go rent specialized boots with viper teeth because if there's ice fall, ice shear, or ice walls, I need viper teeth. There's just no way around that. And obviously it's expensive, but it's what I want to do, so it's what I'm going to do. So, over the past week, I did some altitude training on a solo mountain near Panchpakari, which is just Lake Pakari in northern Nepal. Um, I went off terrain because the terrain was a little bit too basic, and about 2,000 meters down the mountain, I was hit with multiple cliff sides, and I was still scaling down them because I wanted to grab some water. I knew I would have been okay either way. However, I did get put into a survival situation where I did have to camp out for about 2 nights, if I'm not mistaken. I would have stayed a little bit longer if I was able to get my lithium batteries to ignite properly because I didn't. I know there was a uh, village in the way, and I did hear a helicopter pass over by while I was sleeping, but I was like, you know what? It's better for me to just trek out. So I had to leave half of my gear so I wasn't too top heavy. About 80% of the mountain was above a 50% incline, and my pack didn't have the top shoulder straps for me to be able to actually lean forward and safely climb up the mountain. So to mitigate any extra dangers from mudslides, unpacked surfaces, or tree branches that were dead fallen and not actually alive. I decided to leave about half of my gear there, um, and trek out of there. It's not worth bringing a laptop or a few extra pieces of clothing if I'm gonna fall backwards and snap my neck on a branch. But anyway, with that being said, let's get into the video. I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks. Hey, what's up, guys? And today, obviously, I know I wanted to speak about like my experience with, being put in a survival situation, but I was like, you know what, F that. Let's get into how survival situations start and what the dangers are that you can't actually see. Obviously, everybody knows when you're on a mountain, you can have rock falls, avalanches, ice falls, ankle breaks, slips, tears, this, that, the other thing. I mean, hell, you have a higher chance of getting struck by lightning up there. But what I like talking about are the silent things, the things that you can't see coming, the things that you can't really predict. So today we're going to go over levels of hypoxia and oxygen desaturation, hydrogen oversaturation, and various other forms of the mix of both. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get into the video. Basically, as you ascend in altitude, the brain processes hydration differently. And before we go into levels of dehydration, you guys need to understand that our brains do process oxygen and hydrogen photosynthetically. So you don't actually need as much water as you think you do. Um, what happens is you drink a specific amount of water every single day as you grow up, so your brain is predisposed to that level of water. I've been in desert temperatures, 90, 95 degrees, and I've only had maybe a liter or two of water per day. However, when you get to 12,000, 15,000, 20,000, and eventually 28,000 feet, it doesn't work like that. So when you're dehydrated at these high altitudes, the brain will typically convert oxygen into hydrogen or hydrogen into oxygen. It depends on your physical status and how much you sweat, perspirate, if your pores are unlocked, if you're intaking enough sodium, if your salinity levels are balanced for you, if you're in a survival situation, if you're comfortable. So it gets extremely confusing, but simply put, the higher you are in altitude, the faster your skin gets dry. So your brain will typically think it's dehydrated when in reality it's not. So what winds up happening is you overhydrate, and when you overhydrate, you tend to disconfigure the way that the brain processes storages of water. So you think you're hydrated when in reality you're either drowning yourself because the pressure's 50% lower, so you need 50% water, or you're extremely dehydrated and your brain can't realize that your lips are either dry, parched, or your entire body's going through a dehydration state. So what happens is you're on these mountains and you end up passing out. And it's because of the shock from the low oxygen saturation, and it causes you to asphyxiate yourself as opposed to oxidate yourself because your brain can't process the information to handle the immense shock. So, atypically, when you underhydrate, your brain won't be able to differentiate what's the hydrogen and what's the oxygen, and you'll actually pass out from self asphyxiation because your brain just can't handle those levels. Once you pass out, your brain may not be able to adequately tense up the muscles responsible for oxygen saturation in your body. So what winds up happening is your brain, your muscular system can physically cannot oxygenate. So you end up actually choking. It's similar to drowning, except it's the exact opposite. Just human conversation typically associates it as similar, even though they're polar opposites. So something like this is different for everyone. Some people may not even be able to actually ascend to 7, or 8,000 meters unless oxygen is on them the entire time. So it's a really tricky and difficult subject. So the best thing that mountain climbers, mountaineers, Sherpas, and guides can do is just give you oxygen and tell you stay slow, because that's really all that you can do because every person's different. In these high altitude situations, especially if you're not used to it, you can also go through short bursts of losses of consciousness where the body won't remember where it is or where it was, which can lead to those weird points of time where you think you're somewhere, but you're actually somewhere else, and is typically coupled with dehydrative stroke, which is what I said before. Neither can really be caught beforehand, as it's similar to the mirages that are experienced in the desert when you're dehydrated. There's not much of a difference, and actually, it's a lot more prevalent in high altitudes as opposed to deserts. That's a stigma. Most people don't know that because most people don't realize that you're hallucinating on a mountain. Migraines typically help stop this type of mirage that we experience at high altitudes, and vomiting is usually what happens when the brain catches it. The mind just can't understand reactions at that height, so what happens is the brain flushes survival chemicals into your body and you vomit because it's the opposite of what you're doing. I can even guarantee you that Sherpas have the same and almost have the same experiences and almost every single time they climb those mountains, go through the same type of trip. Obviously, it's extremely less pronounced than, a person that's going up there for their first time, but on days when, let's say, the summiting is extremely low in pressure, there's not going to be much of a difference. So imagine this for a second. You go outside one day. It's sunny, 75 and calm. It's a normal day. You don't think twice. The next day, you go outside before a storm or a hurricane, and it's 75 degrees, but it feels like 60, the air is thin, and you're kind of tired. Now, imagine the second day while at 50% oxygen reduction, where each percent of pressure lost is 4 to 5 times as powerful as it was before. That's what it's like on Everest, and that's why I'm not going there. I just don't have the gear to stabilize my body. So instead of going to short of 9,000 meters, I'm going short of 7,500 meters, and that's still considered dangerous. The only reason why I'm able to do this is because Pumori is extremely close to Mount Everest. And the reason for that is Everest always will take the hardest hit. It's because these mountains literally have their own magnetic fields. Those places aren't jokes. Think about how far a regular 1-inch magnet has a magnetic field for. Now think of how big the Himalayas are. Everest is the tallest mountain on there. That entire range is a completely different world. And that's the scary part because these places really aren't jokes, and it's something that people often misconcept. And it's partially why I did the pre-training near Pahad Pokhara. It is going to gear my body for what's to come. It's the exact opposite of where I'm going to be. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but to our consciousness and to biochemicals in my body, it doesn't know the difference. So, training in a place that's directly oppositional to where I'm going to be is probably and will always be the most surefire way of training in an environment where there's very, very little levels of known integrity. Like I said, and like I've said again, and like I've said a million times before, any training is good training. I'm just kind of upset there was no way of getting my laptop to the bottom safely. It missed the shelf table by about 6 inches, and then because it hit the shelf table, it went ass over tea kettle, excuse my language, hit the ground right where my laptop was, and then rolled into a extremely small pond. So then I had to climb down 27 meters as fast as I physically could just to look at my crushed laptop and realize that I was now 80 feet below where I was supposed to be. So yes, I did find my water. I just didn't get to drink it because I was too upset. But whatever. Unfortunately, and this is why I'm so upset, I lost multiple pages of work that I had prepped out for you guys, and I still have yet to see if I was able to back up the information on my cloud. So it's at random chance, and because it's a giant story. You guys aren't my psychologist. I'm the psychologist, so I'm gonna leave my sweet nothings to myself as I cry up my next mountain. But anyway, the video structures are most likely going to continue on a pause for a bit. However, I don't mind because it'll make for a better ending, obviously, as it always does. Um, but yes, the video quality should get a little bit better. I didn't want to go out of my way and buy an iPhone 17 Pro Max before this trek because I smashed so many iPhones in I think it was 2023 or 2020 that my phone insurance company denied me from getting another phone. So that's at sea level in New Jersey. I'm going to be at one of the highest summits in the world. And I was like, you know what? It's probably better that I don't buy that really expensive iPhone just to smash it. Um, but anyway, um, I'd like to thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. and I will see you in the next one. Thank you very much. Peace. But anyway, let's get back into the video. I just wanted to give you guys a quick rundown of what was going on.